My name is Carolyn, and I talk to the spirit world. Travel with me to a dimension filled with love, light, and joyful surprises. Welcome to Carolyn's Psychic Playroom. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my playroom. My name is Carolyn Wilkins, and I am thrilled to be with you yet again for another month of fun times. Here we are on almost the Ides of March. This today just finishes the second quarter of the moon. The next quarter, this next week, takes us into the vernal equinox, the spring, first day of spring. And amazingly and kind of cool, there's a full moon on that day. So not only is it the equinox, but we are in a full moon, and they say, according to the paper, that it's going to be again a supermoon, meaning massively large-sized moon. So hopefully we will hope for a nice clear night where you can get out and see the stars. Now, if you have made your intentions on the full moon, we still have a week to kind of think about bringing them into fruition. If there are things, little seeds that you've planted and things that you would like to see grow, we have one more month, or I'm sorry, one more week before we're going to hit the peak on the full moon, which is next Thursday. So I'm hoping that you all have wonderful, wonderful plans seeded, and yeah, you're going to have to write and let me know how things turn out. And just to remind you guys, if you ever have a question or problem, feel free to write me at psychicplayroom@gmail.com, and I will happily answer your questions. This week, or rather this month, we have a fabulous guest, Linda Clave. Linda Clave is both a visual artist, a psychic. She's kind of a shaman. She's really what I would call an all-around wise woman and creative force. And Linda has been, I have had the honor of knowing Linda for over 20 years. And I must say, she never ceases to surprise me with her talent and her creativity and her wisdom. And so today, I asked her to visit me. Actually, she came to my home and we recorded this interview to talk about art, about creativity, about being a psychic, and just about all things wise and wonderful. So, without further ado, I'm going to play for you this interview with Linda Clave. Hi, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Carolyn's Psychic Playroom. I'm sitting here actually in my living room with my very good friend and amazing artist, Linda Clave. And Linda is going to talk a little bit about her artwork today. She's going to talk about art as a spiritual practice. And yeah, I can't think of a more important topic as we walk farther into 2019. So, Linda, can you tell us a little bit? First of all, I think I'll give her a little bit more of an introduction. Linda's an artist. Linda is a shaman. Linda is a Reiki master. Linda is a Tong Ren practitioner. She works with Qi energy. She's a healer and just an all-around amazing human. So that's about enough on Linda as an intro. I want you to get a chance to hear from her directly can you talk a little bit about the kind of spiritual work that you do as an artist?
Well, I was talking once before with Carolyn. We did an earlier take, and I said that it started when I was a child, and I used to work with my dreams. I used to try and communicate with new creations. I was interested in paper dolls, and I was creating fashions, I was creating costumes, I was creating things that were a fantasy, and every night if I didn't get a creation that I wanted, I was very upset because I thought, I'm losing it.
Wow.
I was just a little kid, but I was thinking, oh, I lost it.
Oh,
And, you know, I felt that this had to be my profession, so to speak. Well, I never did end up going to fashion design, and I liked to play with materials and costumes and putting things together and, you know, making colors work and as you walk down the street rather than just putting them on canvases. But in all of that, I looked for the spirit in all forms, and it started just realizing that there is something much deeper inside of us that that is connected with the higher forces. And you know, it's hard to talk about these things. You can use the word God, you can use the word higher power, you can use the word spirit. It comes down to how well you're connected with any of those.
That's right.
And so I invite people to translate anything I say into something that is meaningful to them. I was telling Carolyn before, when I was a child, I used to think about these things, how God never would limit people to just one religion. I was brought up Christian and thinking, only God will only accept you if you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior. I don't think that way anymore. And I didn't even then.
You were always on a more universal track.
A universal track. Mm-hmm. And I feel like my spiritual background as a result is eclectic.
Exactly.
And the most important part, I think, of anything that you do is to go to the core of where it's coming from, and then everything else then kind of connects to everything else that is of the same vibration.
Yes.
And so if you have a truth in one religion, and it really is a truth, it's true everywhere.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be a religion, it can be just a deep felt connection. I love the American Indians and their sense of the Great Spirit.
Absolutely.
And the Great Spirit is involved in all animals and in all life.
Yes. So, behind us here, and I am going to just lift the camera so that you can see, is a beautiful picture that was actually done by Linda. I'm pretty sure I commissioned you to make this picture years ago.
You saw it, that I had it somewhere on exhibit.
And bought it.
Yeah. It's of a mermaid.
Yes. So tell us how you came to create that.
Well, I was doing a form of printmaking where you do a single print on a plate, and then you put it through a press with a wet piece of paper on top, and then you transfer the image. And I was doing a whole bunch of them. I love water. Carolyn and I have shared that about the ocean and the sea.
Absolutely.
And the goddess.
That's right.
So I did a whole series on mermaids. When I was a child, I wanted to be, lots of things that I wanted to be, and one of them, of course, was to flop around in the sea as a mermaid with my tail and my seashells and whatever. I never thought of mermaids being vicious Circe type.
No.
Energies that ate up sailors. I just saw them as being magical and having a voice that could communicate great beauty and transform people. Anyway,
absolutely.
My mermaid over there is somewhat beguiling.
Yep.
She's in the blue. She was made with an indigo blue ink.
Nice.
And she attracted attention from a number of people, and Carolyn bought her.
Absolutely.
Well, she hung her in her living room, which I'm very
That's
privileged to have myself among other notable pieces in the living room.
Absolutely.
Especially Shaman Abu, who's over there.
Right.
And you
We'll
can't
get
see
to
him.
him later. This
Yeah.
is all about you.
Okay.
So, continuing to be all about you, tell people, we don't actually list websites by name, but I want to make sure that people who are interested in finding out about more and the artwork that you do know where to find you. I know that you're on Facebook, Linda Clave, and you also have a website, right?
I have a website. I'm on YouTube. I
Mhm.
do live performances with musicians. Years ago, I did one at the Bookseller Cafe when it was operative.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back in the late '90s, I believe.
That's right.
And
a long time ago.
We did things on the sea.
We did, and we have continued to do.
And I do things with other musicians, mostly improvisational work, where I am creating with them, so I'm part of the ensemble.
That's lovely.
And you can see, if you Google my name on YouTube, you'll probably find me with a number of different people. Some of them you'll see me painting
Fabulous.
at the time of a performance.
So I know that you also have a show coming at the end of March at the Honan branch of the Alston Library over in Boston. Can you very quickly tell us a little bit about what we can expect to see at your show?
Well, it's not just my show. First of all, I want to say it's a
Mhm.
show produced by the Unbound Visual Artists,
Mm-hmm.
and it is to celebrate women's role in beginning to unravel the huge amount of violence and war that we have. And so I will be creating something that has something in it that I hope, like any other artwork, that might have a resonance that opens people up. That's one of the things that I always felt that my artwork were energy tools. And if you hang them in a space, they transform the energy and radiate out. And hopefully now they're hanging in some places. I gave a lot of my artwork in the last 2 years to Massasoit College in Brockton, and when you walk down the hall, and in the student center and other places, Rolly Blanchette has been a curator there. He considers himself somebody who's collected a museum of local artists on the walls,
Mm-hmm.
and it has really changed the looks of a rather dreary, low-budget college.
Nice.
And where they actually do nurture students to become enlightened.
Beautiful.
And so I'm very happy to be part of that.
Excellent. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Linda Clave. I'm going to put up more information. I will explain once again how you can find her. And in the meantime, Linda, thank you so much for stopping by Carolyn's Psychic Playroom.
Oh, thank you for playing with me.
So yes, ladies and gentlemen, Linda Clave. So as I mentioned earlier, she does have a show coming up at the Alston Library. You can Google her name, Linda Clave, Clave, and find out all about her. You can find out about that show. We didn't get to, in the interview, as much as I had hoped, but I'll have to maybe have her back another time. But she also is a medium, she's a psychic, and she brings her spiritual approach, as you could see, into all of her work. So I hope you enjoyed that interview, and now we come to the next segment of the program. As you know, I always like to answer a few questions that people have sent me during the month, and I have brought my trusty Akashic Records Tarot with me to answer your questions. And so I'm going to just, without further ado, start. So the first question comes from CW, and they are asking, this is a pretty intense question, will I make it through the year? Now, of course, I have no further information about exactly in what way will I make it. What is that exactly referring to? So I'm going to have to trust the cards to speak on this. And as always, just so you know, I use the cards as triggers for my own psychic intuitive abilities to then kind of see between the initial trigger of the card and my own intuition what I see. So CW's question, will I make it through the year? And now I'm going to shuffle the cards, which you can't really see, but I am. I'm going to shuffle them. And one more time, what does CW need to know about this year? I think I'm going to put the question that way. That feels a little bit more positive. What does CW need to know about this coming year? And yes, okay, so I've shuffled a little. I'm going to just wiggle them around a bit more. I'm going to spread them out here and just randomly pull one. And this one will be the Seven of Roses. The Seven of Roses. Now, the words here say the journey. The picture here is, as you see, a ship embarking on a journey. So what this says for me, CW, is that what you need to know about this coming year is that you are on a journey. You have already started. The ship has already pulled out of the harbor, so it's not as if you can go back, right? You are committed, you are on the journey, and you have to just kind of stick with it and go forward. The short answer is yes, of course, you'll make it through the year. And by the end of the year, you will have arrived at a destination that you had already kind of set forth. This journey is not a journey that is an involuntary journey. Nobody dragged you and stuffed you on this boat. You basically, at least some deep and profound level, have chosen to go on this journey, and now you're kind of in the middle of it. You've left the safe harbor of things you know, and you're proceeding a bit into the unknown. However, the result is going to be a good thing because, as we know, we never grow until we are willing to stretch beyond our comfort zone. And at my last final psychic insight on your situation is that this is about stretching beyond the comfort zone, which in this moment does not feel comfortable and is part of the reason why you say, oh my gosh, am I going to make it? It's really intense. But the answer is yes, this is a journey that in the end will yield good results. So I encourage for you patience and trust in the process. Okay, I hope that that's helpful, CW. And now I'm going to go to my next question, which comes from JB, and it has to do with the stars. And the question is, what is the best way to take advantage of a retrograde? Now, for those of you who are into astrology, I'm sure you are well aware we've had some very intense planets lately. I am not an astrologer, so I'm not even going to presume to speak on the details of that, but I do know that there have been planets in retrograde, meaning that they are going in the opposite direction, and sometimes that can affect our energy. And I think I'm going to just slightly change the question, JB, to be what is the best way to take advantage of adverse circumstances. Because when things are in retrograde, that is generally viewed as adverse, right? Maybe the fates not totally smiling, the road not totally smooth. Yet, I feel that we always have the power of choice and that we always can find a way to make the most, even of difficult circumstances such as planets being in retrograde. So I've been shuffling. What does JB need to know about retrograde? I'm going to spread out the cards here and just swish them around a little. One kind of wants to pop up. Boom. The Master Artisan is what this card says. And we see here a young student working and being instructed by a master. So once again, I take this psychically to the point of saying this means that we are the master artisans of our own destiny, retrograde or not, and that we can use the retrograde or the difficult energy or the challenges that may emerge from the planets being in this position as almost spiritual weightlifting to hone our skills and abilities to be able to cope with difficult things. Because we are the artisan, we can create what we need in our lives. We can pronounce what we need. And it might not be exactly always what we thought it would be, but it's always for the good if we can find a way to work with it. And you are now in a position to be an artisan, take control, take charge. Don't just be, oh, the planets are such and such, so therefore I can't go out today, Mercury's retrograde. No. You're the artisan, you're the master, you are the captain of the ship, the artisan of your life. So I hope that that is helpful, JB. And now I'm going to roll on to my last question, which comes from JL. And it is a familiar question here in the Psychic Playroom. JL wants to know, how is my love life? JL has met someone new, and the question is this relationship promising? Will it work out? What's the story? So, we all want to know about these things, so I'm going to just shuffle the cards. What does JL need to know about their love life? I'm going to shuffle, and let's do one more quick shuffle. JL and the love life. Okay, I'm gonna spread the cards and let us see what comes for JL's love life. And let me see, here we go. So, this card, the Five of Forces. Now this is interesting. This is one of the few cards in this deck that if you hold it one way, it means one thing, and if you hold it another way, it means another thing. So this way, it's summer. You can see that it's green fields and crops ripening, etc. And this way is winter, okay? So what this says to me is, first of all, a couple of things. One, since I pulled it with summer facing, I think that this relationship is going to blossom more even in the summer, and look for, by the summertime, a lot more fullness and richness in this relationship. Also, once again, going almost back to my previous message, to the previous question, you are to some degree the artisan in this situation. There's a choice. It can be a blooming or a freezing, and to a certain degree, it's up to you how you want it to move. I feel that you have a lot of power in this particular situation. I'm going to pull one more card, and this card is community. So what this says to me also is that this relationship is going to be within the context of the community. This is somebody you already know. This is someone with whom you are already involved in activities which are going to blossom in the summer. So my sense is that the short answer to your question is that it is going to be good news, that this is a relationship that is within your community and is going to brighten you and flower in the summer. So I am just about out of time. I'm so grateful to have spent this time with you today. And so I'm going to thank you all for coming. As always, if you have a question, comment, concern, or issue, or you want to know anything about my guests, please write me at psychicplayroom@gmail.com. Carolyn Wilkins is signing off. See you next month. Thoughts are things with the energy to make life better for you and for me. Touch the light.